In today's fast-paced world where demands are constantly increasing and expectations are higher than ever, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, stuck, or unsure about how to reach your full potential. But fear not, this podcast is specifically designed to equip you with the mindset, strategies, and insights needed to excel in every area of your life. Together, we're going to unlock the secrets of high performance and embark on a transformational journey towards living our best lives. All right. Welcome to the show, Austin Mcmeans. Glad to have you.
Appreciate it. Good to be on.
So this is the High Performers Podcast, and so I always invite on people that I've met throughout business, and we happen to be in kind of like a mastermind together. Is this the only? It's called Vistage, and I've talked about it on here before. Are you in any other masterminds or anything like that?
I'm actually not. This has been the first one that I've been a part of. I'm still pretty young and new in the entrepreneur game. Growth for me, I feel like has happened pretty fast, mainly because of the people around me. But I have a couple new companies that are all under 3 years old. And I just kind of got to that point where I was like, hey, I need somebody to where I can get some advice and I can vent to, So Vistage is my first one, but
Cool.
I'll eventually get into more. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely been this one and every other one that I've been a part of have been huge value. Kind of a trip for me is that it seems like the value comes like a year or 2 year, 5 years later. And then you're like, oh man, if I'd never done that, this would have never even been possible.
I've actually experienced a lot of growth just in the few months that I've been in Vistage. And it's all started out with EOS because I've always been a very people driven entrepreneur, so to speak. And I've never been able to quantify or systemize the system in a way that EOS has taught me to do. And just letting go of the vine, man, that's the key. And it's so tough and it's so simple, but it's just so damn hard. A lot of it is just the discipline to say no. And I think that's the toughest part for entrepreneurs because you're so used to saying yes for so long to get you to the point of being in that successful position to where you actually can start delegating. So, just the discipline to say no and delegating those tasks and responsibilities onto your team so that way you can actually have the freedom to play the orchestra, as Steve Jobs would say. So it's a very enlightening experience. And not that I'm bored now, but it's definitely freed me up to, focus on bigger picture things, focus on the vision, focus on the day-to-day, working on the business and not in the business. And, it was weird because it all just kind of simultaneously happened at once where when I was just getting into Vistage and with our company, we have a leadership meeting every Friday. So we have 12 leaders in our group within our vertical solutions roofing company across 2 states. So we have to do it via Zoom call and we have it every Friday at 8:30. And we normally discuss like a book, a chapter a week. And then how does that book apply to our business? What can we do better? What are we doing right? But at the time, like within that first week that I got into Vistage, we were actually reading Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, very popular book. Most people have read it. But I think it was like chapter 4 or 5, and I can't remember. It was Decentralized Command. That was the chapter that we were on. I don't know what chapter that is, but anyway, I was like, man, that was just a perfect vision because Jocko, he wouldn't have been able to do his job of, saving lives and seeing that long-term vision if he was stuck and like involved in the day-to-day, because that's what you have those people there for. So that was a very enlightening experience. And then, you throw Vistage on top of that and the EOS, it was always just like, bam.
That's skill stacking.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah,
that's really good. Well, let me back up. And, what's amazing is everything that you're talking about kind of applies across businesses. It applies across real estate and different kind of private equity and stuff. But the question I always ask people, what do you tell people when they ask you, what do you do for a living?
Now, I would say, I own a couple companies. I'm not as specific as I used to be because my job is not super specific, and I don't think any entrepreneur's job is because you dabble in a few different things, right? You have this company, have that company, do a little bit of property management here and there. People ask me what I do. I don't really get asked that question as often as I used to, strangely enough. But I'm just pretty vague with it. I don't like to give out titles because I don't like people knowing who I am all the time. I just say, look, I work with a couple companies here and there, work in roofing. That's kind of my answer there.
But you are the owner and the founder of your roofing company.
Yes, I am.
And now you're not just, didn't you consolidate some roofing companies?
No, actually I didn't. We started this one from scratch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I used to work at another roofing company and I'm very grateful for that experience because it taught me exactly how not to run a roofing company. So I got to, make my mistakes on somebody else's dime, but also learn how to not run a roofing company. But
Hey, let's
my whole
start
life.
from that. Let's start
Okay,
from
yeah,
that. Let's start
okay.
from what are the things you need to be avoiding? Because the thing is, this is going to go across all companies, right? I'm sure it has to do with
hmm
leadership and a lot of the different. So, what are some of the things that you found that you learned to stay away from and not do when you're building your company?
I would say from that company to the company that we have now, I've made it a point to not make it a threatening environment. You know, firm and fair, but not threatening. Because the approach that we take, I have a lot of very top producers that work for our company, that work for me. They're $1 million producers, right? And they can easily go anywhere. I got some Aaron Rodgers on my team. I got some divas, and they're very top performing salespeople, and I love them to death. But the moment that they start threatening me, leave, go somewhere else. Our culture and our company values are more important than what you bring to the table. At the end of the day, it's just that's been a very top focus for me since day one, since we started the company out of inception, because I've seen what that does long term with other companies like that. Whenever you let like top performers, those $1 million producers that just allow or that the owners nuts in a vice, or just strong arm you into doing something you
Hmm.
don't want to do, it's like, dude, it's not worth it. Because not only am I sending a terrible message to the rest of the team and allowing special treatment for you, but also it's just this is a losing battle, because if you did it this time, you're going to do it again next month. You're going to do it the next month. You're going to do it the next month. So, just having that, but also never really threatening anybody. I mean, um, we do have accountability for sure, and I have processes and systems in place that technologically track accountability. But we have a very open, flexible schedule. I mean, I have a general manager that runs my OKC location, and he is literally in Germany for 3 months out of the year. And guess who's running his location whenever he's in Germany? Me, right? But I'm never going to tell him no, because his family lives in Germany, because I care about him as a person. He's like, hey man, I'm exhausted, I'm burnt out, I got to go see my family in Germany for 3 weeks. As much as it inconveniences me sometimes to step in and be the GM of that location, I'm never going to tell him no, right? Whereas a lot of employers, especially at the last location, would be like, "F no, you're not going there. I mean, I need you here. It's storm season." I'm never going to tell him that. But on the other side of that, it's a symbiotic relationship, because if he were to say me, tell me, "Hey, Austin, I need X, Y, and Z. If you want me to stay here," I'll be like, "Well, go," because I'm not going to give it to you. So it's a fair and firm relationship. Yeah.
Sure it is. And how do you think that makes them how do the employees, the partners, the people that you're working with, that you're treating them that way, how do they perform for you like that?
Well, I like to think of it as them performing for themselves, and if they're going to perform for a group of people, they need to perform for the group of people that are in the leadership team of that company. Now, ultimately, it comes down to them performing for me, but it's we, it's not me. And, I think they perform very well. And yeah, do I give up some A players sometimes that, just have a lot of attitude? Yeah, but I think overall, I would rather have a strong culture of badass B plus and A minus players than a terrible culture with nothing but A plus players. So
Yeah.
I think they do very well.
Everybody at the level that I've been at for about a year, 2 years now, instead of it talks about these higher level ideas. We don't talk about like specific techniques anymore. It's not like a sales technique like the takeaway or something like that we're
Hmm.
talking a lot about, like different techniques in business. It's more concepts, and one of the guys, a friend of mine, Ryan Miller, he calls it reputation and relationships. And so really a lot of that, it sounds like you've put a lot of stock in developing those relationships with your people that you work with.
Yeah, for sure. Relationship building. I think sales and management is one and the same. You got to have that mutual respect and communication that goes both ways, whether you're selling a customer and influencing a customer to do a certain thing, or you're influencing one of your peers, or, one of the people that work for you to do something. Respect and communication are necessary, absolutely necessary, to build a healthy relationship there. And just being strong with our core values too. I don't have everything articulated, because, like I said, I'm still pretty new to the entrepreneur game. I don't have like all these systems in place, but I do know that we have good, strong core values, and we stick to them. Communication, extreme accountability, teamwork, commit to your word, strive for greatness. Those are things that we use as guidelines and management tools to grade myself, but also to grade our team members as well. I mean, I just had to part ways with somebody today because he failed all five of them. I'm like, how the fuck did this dude even get in here? you know. So it's what it is, you know. But I mean, so, a lot of people, they'll put on that front, you know, when you're dealing with salespeople all day, they're going to tell you exactly what you want to hear. They're going to get in there, and then it's like, man, okay, this is not the person that we need right now. So that's our ways, you know.
That's a lot about what you were just saying about being so friendly and being in sales and saying yes all the time, and that goes back to that doesn't translate a lot into being an entrepreneur. But a lot of us come from sales, and we kind of try to bring those traits and those skills over, and they're like anti what we need to be doing. Have you found that?
Yes, because I think that happened to me. Are you saying that some of the short-term manipulations that work in sales, as entrepreneurs, we try to bring that into
Yep.
running a business and it bites us in
Yep.
the ass? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I do have a little bit on that. So me, you know, I was taught sales in a pretty hardcore environment, and I'm glad, I'm thankful for it. I am, right. I mean, you know, you think used car sales tactics, that's the environment that I learned in, because I used to work for a company called LA Fitness, and you know, they were the top dogs in the fitness game for a long time because of the high pressure sales tactics that they used. And you know, they're very good at what they do. I love LA Fitness for what they taught me, but you know, it was always like, how can we make our month? How can we make our month? How can we make our month? There was never any long term perspective. So of course, you know, that I learned, and that's how I learned how to sell. And so, you know, once I transferred over into, you know, outside sales and more high ticket sales, and you know, dealing with like long term customers, because when you sell a roof, man, you know, you got to deal with that customer for 90 days before you even collect the money sometimes. And then after that 90 days, you got to put the roof on, you got to do the project management. You actually have to deliver what you sell. So that was kind of a wake up call for me, and kind of a slap in the face that I needed to say, hey, you know what? I can't short term manipulate anybody anymore, because that was all I knew for the longest time. It's like, hey, man, you know, I'm trying to get the deal, trying to get the sale, trying to get the invoice up, boom, move on to the next person, trying to sell you again. But I quickly learned that, hey, I got to commit to my word, and I got to be whole. You know, what I'm saying, that's who I have to be. And that was a transition phase for me. That probably took about 6 months. It was very fucking uncomfortable, but I did it. And then, you know, once I committed to that, that's kind of how I live my life now. And I did try to transfer some of those short-term manipulating sales tactics into management in the beginning, and they bit me in the ass every time. I'm like, I'm not going to get anywhere if I do this, you know. So, I mean, just like with, you know, when we hire people, right? Um, I used to be the person that if I had an A-plus player sitting in front of me that I was interviewing, I would say whatever it took to get them on board, right? Now I'm saying, hey, look, this is who we are. We're not going to waver in our mission. If you want to be a part of that mission, come on board. If you don't, I totally understand. Another roofing company may be a better fit for you, right? I'm just more transparent, you know, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like short term, it doesn't give me as much gain. Long term, 1,000 times better.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. So I know I have some family that's in that industry and in that high pressure fitness and sales and all that kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
once he moved out of that and moved into coaching, totally different vibe, totally different person, totally more fits his life and what makes him happy. You know, he was good at both, but whenever he got into the one that really fit for him, he got to step out of that high pressure. And that's the exact same thing that you're doing, is like more like you're coaching the people that you're working with and dealing with them like relationships and coaching
Yeah.
versus high pressure and give me results and transactional.
Right, exactly. Being transformational instead of transactional, which
That's right.
I feel like you got to be transformational first before you can get the transactional. Because if you try to be transactional first, I just feel like, man, you're putting the cart before the horse, and you haven't made those, you're trying to make withdrawals before you made deposits into that person. It's like a bank account. If you go negative, then, you know, you're going to lose that bank account. You're going to lose that person. So I definitely agree with you there for sure.
Now you had a fitness career before what you're doing now. You're also like a online fitness influencer, it looks like.
I wouldn't go that far. Actually, I used to be pretty into social media back during COVID, because like that COVID 2020 was the year that I transitioned from fitness into outside sales or roofing, right? Um, and so there was like a 6 month gap there where like your first 6 months in roofing, you're not really making much money. You know, like it took me almost 100 days to get paid, right? Because, you know, you're waiting on jobs to come in, and, you know, depending on the company that you work for, you know, you don't get paid until all the money is collected on the job. And I didn't receive any money. Luckily, I had, you know, a few grand saved up, and I knew what I was getting into. But I'm not going to say I had a whole lot of free time, but I was like, you know what? I need to exhaust other avenues with building a brand, building a business in case I ever want to come back to this, which I have. But yeah, I used to be really into fitness. I was a competitive bodybuilder. And, I'm a big Alex Hormozzi guy. I like his strategy. And I think he says that if you're not using social media, then, the best day to do it was yesterday, but the second best day to do it is today, so, uh, it's kind of a fine balance because I kind of had to set social media down because it consumed me so much and it became a full-time job. And I think that's what I try to help other people with, and just the coaching of, hey, how can you properly balance utilizing your social media? Because social media is a powerful tool, man. And if you're not using it, you should, especially if you want to be a successful entrepreneur. But you can't get stuck in the scrolling, because that's where hours and hours and hours just get wasted, right? And it's such an addicting thing. It's like opening up a Doritos bag and trying to only eat one. Man, you're gonna eat the whole fucking box or the whole fucking bag, So with me, my personal life hack on that is I have two phones. I got my personal phone, I got my work phone. And on my personal phone, I don't have any social media apps downloaded. It's all on my work phone, right? So that way, I record the content, I send it to Ty, and this is exactly what I'm looking for. So I appreciate the hookup, by the way. I send it to Ty, he takes care of everything, and then he just posts it. And then I'll go back and check it twice during the day, maybe once in the morning, once at night to, look at kind of the content and then see what's there. But that's what keeps me away from mindless scrolling, because that's a big time waster for me, and I don't have time to waste. So,
yeah, for sure. So that balance of social media is exactly what I talk about a lot for scaling yourself. And so there's two big things that you talked about there that are so huge for being successful, is being able to focus and being able to outsource and scale yourself. So that now that you're plugging into the same system that I am of, and you already have, like you said, social media content, you have great stuff out there already. And so once you start to plug it into like an infrastructure, it's like plugging a hose into an entire house, all the pipes that feed the whole entire house. So you plug it into the infrastructure, and there's social media you can do that with. We do that with property management. There's a lot of things, a lot of parts of entrepreneurship and business, like you were saying, let go of the vine. You're going to have to fall. You're going to have to let go and trust that it's going to work. And I just had that this last week. I was out of town, and I just said, well, everybody knows what to do. They know I'm out of town, and everybody did exactly what they were supposed to do. And I didn't have to call and check up on everybody. And whenever you set up those systems and procedures, just like you've done, you can do that. Have you set that goal? Is that part of your entrepreneurial journey where you set that goal? I'm going to take like a whole month off and not answer the phone and all that kind of thing?
I haven't gotten there yet, just because, like I said, I'm still pretty young in the game. Ideally, that would be nice, but I love the process, man. I'm a process-oriented guy, and if I got to the destination, I don't even know what I'd do if I got there. Because I just love the grind. And if I wasn't doing this, I'd be trying to build something else. I like building things. So, yes, believe me, I do need my vacation just as much as anybody. But it's almost like I don't really plan on vacations. Like I'm like, okay, well, I'm just waiting for the day to where I can take a month off. Yeah, that's nice, but I'm really more working for, hey, if I need to take a month off, I need to be able to do it when I need to do it. So I think halfway I'm answering your question. There's times when I do get burnt out. I got to set it down, and I'm being able to get more self-aware now with how I operate and how my operation correlates with the business's operation. And there was a time back in August where I'm like, hey guys, I got to take 2 weeks off. So you're going to sink or swim, which they all swam just fine. I knew they would. So I'm working for time in which if I have to take 3 months off, then it's ready, right? But I'm not looking forward to 3 months off. But if I need it, I'll take it. Yeah.
For sure. So being able to take that time off, that's like, I've heard a ton of entrepreneurs talk about it. It's like a bragging thing, or it's like it's the anti, I work so hard every day. And it's like, well, if you work so hard every day, then what's the point? The whole point is for you to like develop something or build something that kind of keeps making you money, so you don't have to keep like grinding so hard every single day. But what I found is, for me, whenever I left, you hear whenever you come back, you have like great ideas because you cleared your head or whatever. And I think that's probably part of it. But I think whenever you leave, the people do sink or swim. Some of them swim, but some of them break some stuff a little bit along the way. You come back and there's some bigger problems to fix than your everyday little problems. So whenever you come back, now you're fresh, now you have new ideas, and now you have these bigger problems. So, I mean, taking the time off, I've found that those, whenever you come back, that's what the big difference is. You're making bigger changes because you have kind of bigger problems that showed up, or bigger, you see bigger cracks in your systems going, oh, that's going to be a problem. I better take care of that.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, problems did I see when I came back from vacation? What
Yeah.
problems exposed themselves? Okay. Yeah, no, it did. And I will say that, luckily I take a I feel like I'm a risk taker, but then not really in some ways, because it just in my mind, I think of 1,000 different things going wrong before I leave. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put this in place because, I know that's going to go wrong. I'm going to put this in place, this in place, this in place, because I know all that's going to go wrong. Right. So I feel like I am pretty good at anticipating problems before they become like mountain problems that I can't fix. But yeah, there was one that I did not anticipate, and that was our AR balance, our collections. Because, one thing that you don't really anticipate is that your salespeople make so much, and I'm not saying like so much money, millions of dollars, but just more money than they've ever made before. And, we have like $500,000 out there floating for an AR balance. And my salespeople, their commissions are tied to bringing in that final check whenever the work is done, right? So whenever they bring in that final check, that's when they get paid their final commission. But if 80% of our staff is making $10,000 a month when they're only used to making $3,000 or $4,000 a month, what urgency did they have to go pick up that final check? So they're almost like in a better position than we were in, right? So there for a second, it got kind of scary because like, oh my God, I got $500,000 that's owed to me, and I don't have any salespeople that are urgent to go get it, right? So we luckily we stepped in and everything was fine, and we have a great back of house team. I got some badass ladies in the back of the house that do exactly what they're supposed to do. But I kind of just had to put a little extra in urgency. Say, hey guys, what the hell are we doing? Let's go get it, and they did. But that was something that when I left, we had about a $250,000 in outstanding balances. Then when I came back 2 weeks later, we're at $500,000. I'm like, what is happening here? What's going on? So yeah, I totally understand what you mean.
I used to run a boiler room sales room, making phone calls when actually, people actually had phones and such. And, we'd have people sandbagging like that. They'd get their sales the
Yeah,
last week and they delay it over to the next month because they already made their bonus and they know now it'll make it easier for them to hit the bonus the next month and stuff like that. And we'd wind up, and it seems like, and I've heard this from like two or three other friends, kind of the same story. It seems about $500,000 is what a company can like float out there before everybody starts going, hey, where's all this money? How come we're not paying and
yeah,
getting paid, and what's going on?
yeah.
It's funny that that's the same number.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why that is. I haven't really spoken to other roofing owners in that exact same situation, but I'm sure there are. But that was definitely my like red flag number where I'm like, oh, okay, we're not in serious trouble. We would never put the company in that kind of position. But hey, bro,
Sure.
we got to get to work. We got to just bring these checks in because that just can get out of hand so quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So what can you do? Have you thought of anything to do with implementing in your culture to keep that going to where that's a part of your system, that's a part of your procedure?
To keep those AR balances down.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is something that we started doing about 4 or 5 months ago. That everybody that works for our company is on a performance-based pay plan in some way, shape, or form, right? So, all of my salespeople, they're all commission-based, so they obviously have incentive to sell and collect money because that's how they get paid, right? But we're the first company that I know of that our back of house people, our supplements manager, our production manager, our AR manager, our administrative assistant, they're all on performance-based pay structures as well. Now, they receive a certain base pay, but then a very big chunk of their income is tied to a certain performance, right? So what I did to fix that, and this wasn't the only fix, this wasn't the end all be all solution, but it absolutely helped in that situation, was our AR manager, we tied how much she made. We gave her a small percentage of everything that she was able to coordinate and collect. So now it's like, okay, maybe my salespeople that have gotten paid a shit ton of money in the last 90 days or whatever, maybe they're not super urgent about collecting that money, but now she is, and she's the boss lady in the back of the house. So, she's helping me in achieving that mission, saying, hey, what are you doing? Let's go collect those checks. We've done all the work, so just tying that incentive to the back of house, giving her an opportunity to earn extra income, but also paralleling her goals with the company's goals. I think that was a good fix. Again, didn't perfect the system, but it definitely improved it.
Awesome. And it's also like you kind of like added a seat on the bus. It's like you added kind of like in between position for her to where she could
Hmm.
be able to get more compensation out of doing more work.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just, win-win. That's what I try to go for every time.
That's
So,
great. So we talked a little bit about fitness earlier. What do you think it is about, I've noticed this for a long time. What do you think it is about like entrepreneurs and success and fitness to kind of go together? Like if you can get fit, you can get successful. And if you can get successful, you can get fit. It kind of feels like they go together.
and I've been waiting for somebody to ask me this question for a long time. uh, to me, man, it's so simple, but it's so hard. Is that like, whether it's, just general fitness, bodybuilding, crossfitting, tough mudders, whatever, what kind of fitness you're into. If you're really into it, when you're in the gym working out, your body and your brain starts associating failure with success, right? And it's like it breaks it down on a molecular level and you feel it, right? So, like if you're in the gym and okay, so I'm working out chest today, I'm working out biceps, or maybe I'm running 10 miles, or I'm going to do this circuit or this WOD training, then you're like, okay, so I win if I bring my body to failure, right? And then if you do that just with repetition, 4 or 5 days a week, then you start associating, okay, failure with success, failure with success, failure with success. And then you're like, okay, I've trained my body to failure in the gym. And, now your mind's already kind of correlated to that. Now you just bring that same concept out in the world. Fail fast. We say that in Vistage. So it starts correlating failure with success because you can't have success without failure. And that's gym 101. So, in my opinion.
Awesome. Yeah, I figured it was more something like a lot of people like the easiest thing you think of first is like if you have the discipline or if you have the
Hmm.
grit or whatever. And I think there's a big component of that, but it's more like almost who can sustain and maintain the mundaneness of everyday habits, the small little things that have to be done. But it's those small little things that make the difference that have to be done because those basic, fundamental, foundational things, when they're not done, everything else is crumbly. It doesn't really work right.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's probably the second component right there is that just the discipline and consistency, like you said. I mean, because if you're not, and that you can't cheat your body, you can't cheat results. I mean, you can
That's
cheat some
right.
other things in life, you
Yeah.
cannot cheat fitness, And if somebody's in fucking awesome shape, if they're like sitting at 8% body fat, they didn't cheat their way there. Genetics, yeah, whatever, but still, I mean, if they're over 30 years old and they have their shit together, I mean, if they look the part, then they put in significant work to get there. It's not like they just tripped over stone and got to 8% body fat. They put in significant diet, significant training time, and actually put together a routine. And you're right. Yeah, you've got to have the dedication and consistency. I think more like bodybuilding is what I was referring to when it comes to like failure equals success, because
Sure.
every set that you go into, it's like we don't even have reps that we shoot for. It's like, well, this set, we're going to fucking failure every time. Like, I mean, just however many reps it takes to wear my muscles out to failure, that's what we do. Right. And if it's 8, if it's 10, if it's 15, if it's 50, whatever it is, that's what we do, right? And even Arnold said that, going back to what you said, Arnold Schwarzenegger was like, "Hey, I look at working out like brushing my teeth. That's a part of my DNA. It's just what I do. I don't do it to get anywhere. It's just part of who I am. It's in my consistency. It's in my DNA."
Yeah,
Yeah,
I call that identity.
yeah,
And so, if I change I think it's James Clear talks about this, and so does Tim Ferriss all the time, talking about like, the identity whatever identity that I think of myself as, then that's what that kind of person does. I'm the kind of person who gets up and walks every morning. And so whenever I think of myself that way and I identify that's who I am, so I get up and do
mm,
it. And then,
yeah,
that's one of my personal things that I go back and forth on. Like I get up at 4 in the morning, I'll go take a walk. Well, a lot of times I'll start doing work from the bed before I even get up, and I might not even go take a walk that day or whatever. And I notice the difference. But being able to stick to these routines, the more I do it, just like the more you work out consistently, the better the results are for the business, for the family life, for the spiritual life, all that stuff. It's all pretty much the same. Like if you're consistent when you work out, whatever spiritual, calmness that you're trying to bring into your life and family and business, that's how you're going to have the success in all those different categories.
yeah, for sure. You're right, man. I mean, building your identity, I think that takes time, right? And the cool thing about identity is that you can become whoever you want. And,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to be the person that wakes up at 4 a.m., then be that person that wakes up at 4 a.m. And that's now a part of your identity. But, identity is, there's such respect behind that because in order for something to be a part of your identity, just like you said, it has to be consistent. and you have to do it. You have to commit to doing it. And that's the hardest part. I mean, I feel like that's the biggest gap between people that are successful and people that are unsuccessful is just actually taking action and doing what you say you're going to do, right? And I mean, you actually do it. So that's part of who you are. That's awesome.
Yeah, because discipline is kind of like a promise to yourself.
Yeah, right. Don't cheat yourself.
And then after you do it, then you're like, oh, I believe that guy. That guy in my
Yeah.
head that told me that I was going to do that. Yeah, I believe him. So the next
Yeah.
time, that's what confidence is. That's like the way that confidence works. Like once you do it, you're like, oh, I believe that.
Yeah. It's, I don't think I've ever looked at it that way. I think that's a very, that's kind of enlightening for me too, because, it's almost like kind of becoming your own hero in a way, because, if you
Mm-hmm.
grow up, a lot of who you are and a lot of how you're shaped, a lot of that is, formulated when you're a child, right? So if you maybe had parents that always said they were going to do something and then didn't end up doing it, then you don't really trust people's words anymore. And me, I mean, I always listen to actions over words anyway, but it starts with yourself, and you have to set that example with yourself. And I mean, you're right. I mean, I think it creates like new like neurotransmitters whenever you just back up what you say you're going to do, and just almost speaking about yourself and to yourself in that third person. There's a lot of power behind that punch when it comes to doing what you say you're going to do. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that person inside there, man. I talk about that all the time. That there's an evil one in there that's always trying to like tell you, you can't do it. No, you were in the special disabilities class in high school. What are you thinking? You're trying to run this
Yeah.
multi-million dollar hedge fund, real estate investment. This is my personal. People, what do they call them? Demons and such. But the
Mm.
thing is, it's just a voice in your head, and you can control it, and you can talk back to it. That's the big thing I've
Yeah.
been doing lately. Is instead of just trying to control it, is just talk back to it. It's like, man, that's not right. That's not even correct at all. That's not even match the historical record.
Yeah. You got the good angel and the demon right here on the shoulders. But
That's
I mean, that's
right.
what it is, really. I mean, it's you have two voices in your head, and whichever one you listen to, that becomes who you are. So you're right, man. That's cool.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, you do have a roofing company, and people might want to reach out to you and get their roof replaced because we are here in North Texas and it does hail.
Yeah.
I think it was yesterday, tornado?
Yeah, man. We just got some good hail over in like Fort Worth, and you really like West Fort Worth. So
Yeah,
I got guys out there, right now. They're working their butts off. They're doing good. I got a great team, so they're killing it.
very good. So, how can people reach out to you and find out about if they want to a good quote, get you to come out and do the roof?
Yeah, I mean, they can go to our website, verticalsolutionsroofing.com. Admin at verticalsolutionsroofing.com is our company email. Or, we probably got a million cards out there on doors right now, so they can just open up the door and take a look at the card and, call the rep that was out there. We've got plenty of door hangers. So, yeah, either one of those ways, definitely get in touch with us. We'll definitely help.
What is people looking for if they go and check you out like on Instagram?
So our company Instagram, I feel like pretty active on that. So, we try to show a lot of before and after pictures so you can see the work that we've done. I always encourage everybody to do their research on our company because unfortunately in this business, man, there's just a lot of shady companies out there, and it sucks because it gives us all a bad name. And, that's our mission statement is to elevate the standard in service, professionalism, and craftsmanship, because I feel like those three things really struggle in this industry. I mean, there's just certain things like once you find a good mechanic, there's a lot of untrustworthy mechanics. So once you find that good one, you got to hang on to them. And that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to win that trust with homeowners because a lot of them have got screwed over, man. I mean, it's a dime a dozen homeowners that have been, raked over the coals by, former roofers, even my own grandparents. They got screwed over by a roofer one time. And that's part of the reason why we started this company is because I don't want to do that. We're businessmen that got into roofing. We're not roofers that just tripped into a business.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. All right. Well, I have a question I like to wrap up with people, and this is how I'll let you cap off the show and have the last word, so to speak. This is what I like to ask. We're going to imagine for a minute. Imagine this is the last podcast, the last anything everybody's going to hear from you, the last time there's ever going to be anything that anybody hears from you, but everybody in the entire world is going to hear it. So, Austin Mcmeans, what is your message to the world?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I don't think I've ever been asked that before. I would say I'd probably have to start out with my personal mission statement was just to have as much of a positive impact on as many people as possible in whatever, form that takes. Yeah. So that would be.
That's beautiful. I don't think you need to say anymore. I think it's been a really great show. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Love y'all. See you later.
Thanks.